Hello everyone, this is Daniel here from Austria, and from the Australian corner of the world, Jason.
Good morning, everyone. I'm here to prove that Australia is better than Austria.
Well, let's see. We will see. Actually, today we have several topics prepared for you, and we are quite excited because it's our first live stream. So please don't roast us in case we do some mistakes. It's just like our first time that we are going live. And yeah, so I thought there's also a little bit of background story I wanted to share prior I jump into the topics for today, because there's always this saying that the people from Austria are the same like from Australia. And this is something what we want to show you today, that there are quite a lot of differences. Do you see the pumpkin head over there?
The pumpkin head agrees. Lots of differences. And we hope to discuss lots of those tonight. Whatever time is it? Tonight for me.
Well, it's daytime for me, but yeah, it's midnight.
That's one difference.
That's midnight in Australia, and it's 2 p.m. in Austria right now. So this is like one already. I spoiled what we will be presenting later on anyway. So, okay. The agenda for today is basically we are bringing you some hard facts from Austria versus Australia. There will be part 1, 2, and 3. Yes, so we prepared also 3 questions each. So the Australian questions are snakes and spiders. These weird questions are from myself, so don't wonder. But there's deeper meaning to them. I can explain later on. The Commonwealth country and the bushfires. And Austrian questions are visiting other countries, sound of music, and skiing. Well, and in the end, we also will have a Q&A session with you. So please stay tuned till the end so that you can get your answers for your questions about Austria and Australia.
Yes, we're ready to answer lots of questions.
Okay, I want to jump right into Austria for a reason, because there is also, and also for Australia, I want to jump into it. Okay, do you see Australia right now?
Yes, I can see Hard Facts Australia versus Austria Part 1.
Okay. So you don't see the Australian Wikipedia right now?
Not yet, unfortunately.
Okay, wait, I'll reshare the screen.
We're having technical difficulties already, are we?
Yeah. You hear the sound at least?
Yes. So that's
okay.
Good.
It's your turn to present Australia now.
Okay, in Australia, the language is English, and the Australian version of English, which is pretty similar to normal English, but Australians like to abbreviate words. So instead of afternoon, we just say arvo or that sort of stuff. So lots of things end in O in Australia, but it's pretty much English. The population is 25.6 million. I can't be bothered reading out that exact number. The capital city is Canberra, but the largest city is Sydney. I've never been to Canberra, but I have been to Sydney. There's a very big bridge called the Sydney Harbour Bridge, and you can walk right across the top of it and have a wonderful view of the whole city, which is well worth doing for anybody who's ever in Sydney.
Okay, wait. I'm trying to share Sydney as well so that the people have at least this one. So I'm going to remove that from the screen quick. So now you got us in full screen at least. So, and let's add a new screen that at least we have this. It's quite funny because yesterday it worked, but today it doesn't work. So I won't bother to jump too much stopping the PowerPoint, but I thought I'm going to share once again. So where was it? Oh no, This is Sydney. So for those
there we go.
people, do you see Sydney now? Is the
Oh,
question.
yes, I can see Sydney, and that's the bridge I was talking about. You can stand on the very top of that, and it's an amazing view from up there. Not quite as big as the skyscrapers, but definitely a good view.
So not to mistake with Canberra, which is over here. So this looks like Taj Mahal in India.
Oh yeah, yeah, you're right.
Did you rebuild this one?
Definitely some similarities there.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's go back. Do you see me jumping around from the views now?
Yes. Now we're back on the hard facts page, which is good.
This is nice. Okay. At least this works better in this sense.
Okay. Yep, it's working.
Okay. If I remove that, then I'm going to have this. So let's. I hope. Do you still see the page now? Yep.
Yes. Back on part
Okay.
one. Okay. Can you tell us
it was so short, I think I will also do the same here on the first page now. Also a little bit of patriotism about Austria.
Yes.
Also the national anthem for you. Here's also the location. I will jump into that later on. Well, right from the beginning. Just here in the center of Europe, there's Austria, just for everyone to know. And this is the national anthem from Austria. And let's make it a little bit less noisy because okay. So the language is Austrian German. So this is like one big fact because people are thinking we are speaking German, which is wrong. Most of the people have really hard time to understand the version of German we speak in Austria because it's quite different to the standard German, what you speak in like northern part of Germany, because there's also a south region from Germany, which has more or less similar dialect like we do in Upper Austria at least. So it is called Bavaria. So maybe you know because of the BMW. And this is the area which is quite similar.
That's where Neuschwanstein is. I know of Bavaria.
And
I want to go. I want to visit Neuschwanstein Castle one day.
Oh, nice. Cool.
So that's Bavaria.
Yeah, Bavaria is quite cool. It's quite similar to the area I live in. So there's lots of similarities. But there's also like, from my impression, I'm not from Germany, but my impression is like the Bavarian people are a little bit different to the rest of Germany, but it's just the impression I get. I have lots of friends all over Germany, so it's just like this. But this is an Austrian presentation, and we go back to Austria now. So the population is 8.9 million. Also, don't bother about the 2,600 in the end. Yeah. And the capital is Vienna. I mean, this is why Austria is famous for, probably. There is like lots of, there is the Stephansdom here on the right. I've been there several times. Here's the location. So it's not in the center of Austria. So it's really, really quite on the right-hand side of Austria. And yeah, so that's more.
Is there anything special about that part of Austria? Is it maybe on a big river or something like that?
Well, actually, yes, the Danube. This is like the main or the biggest river we have in Austria. And here you already see also as well, we have 8 neighboring countries which are located around Austria. I think you see that here better. So yeah, so this is basically, here Switzerland. This is the only one which didn't join the European Union. And here is our European Union dropout. And Norway never has been part of it. But they have made many agreements with the European Union, even when they are not in the custom union, but there's like, they have a lot of advantages. I don't know about UK, which is a new breakout from it was Brexit called breakout.
Yeah, that's Brexit.
Yeah. So yeah, but it's also maybe I talk about Europe another day, but it's too much for the day. We just stick to Austria. Yeah, let's. There's also another thing, just to get it right. I also want to show the location from Australia on this map. So just Did you see that a little bit better? This is like really on the other side of the world. Where he's talking from, this is the other side of the world.
Yeah, that's a long way. And how many kilometers was it? 15,000 and something kilometers? 15,900.
Almost 16,000 kilometers from Vienna to Canberra. So this is like capital to capital distance. And we are at the moment, we have 10-hour time difference. But we're going to have the time change from today until tomorrow, which brings us already to the next hard facts sheet. And
despite such a large distance, we can still talk instantly over the internet. So isn't that wonderful?
This is the cool thing about the globalization, or at least about the technological side of it. The country size of Austria is 48,000 square kilometers. I mean, you see it on the screen anyway. So, and the location is Central Europe. So you saw that already just now here. Once again, this one. Whoops, this is not centered. Okay, here, like really quite in the center. There's always discussion among those countries, but sometimes I even hear this because this area is supposed to be the geographical center of Europe. But we are called, there's a few countries which are really called Middle Europe, so Middle European countries. And Austria says it's the heart of it. But it's like every country is always the center of the world, right? Or there in Australia.
Every country thinks they're the center of the world.
Yeah, so, okay, I somehow went to the wrong page.
As a crazy fact, in Japan, the name they call themselves in Japan is Nihongo, and that means the land of the rising sun, which means they thought the sun went around them and only them. So that they were the center, the sun went around them.
I mean, it's.
I suppose every culture thinks that.
I think that's really cool because there's like also the flat earther who believe it's just a flat earth. And I mean, that was like centuries ago, but there's like still a community which believe in this. We do see with along the Austria distance to Australia, it's a little bit difficult to have a flat earth. just as a matter of fact. So I won't be supporting this idea. Anyway, let's. Sorry, what you wanted to say?
I don't support that idea either. The Earth seems to be spherical to me.
Okay, here is like a quite nice overview of the time zones in Europe. So here's the Greenwich time, which is like the UTC. +1, and here is Central European summertime, which we are right now. This is like UTC 2, and here you see like most of the area in Europe is in the UTC 2 right now, and in UTC 1 as soon as we have winter time, starting from tomorrow. And there was discussion of just keeping, I think, wintertime or summertime. They are still not certain. I prefer the summertime, but I don't know what they will do in the next couple of years. Okay, this is my part. Australia.
All righty. The country size, Australia, is 7.9 million square kilometres, which is approximately 92 times bigger than Austria. And I've seen an interesting graphic that compares the size of Australia to Austria, where pretty much all of Europe fits inside Australia with a bunch of space left over. So Australia is really, really big. But what lots of people don't realise is it's pretty uninhabitable once you get to the centre. So the vast majority of the population live on the coast, or all around the outside, or the cities. All the big cities are near the coast. But once you start getting inland, there's fairly soon you start getting into dry, hot areas, and it then becomes desert eventually. So yeah, eventually it's less pleasant a place to live. At the moment, we can see you looking at our live stream page. Is that what you want to show?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just wanted to check out.
That's okay. No worries. So yeah, our location is within Australia, and I like the way you compare that to yours, because Australia is a standalone country, no fixed borders with anywhere else. It's ocean all the way around, which I believe is very different to Austria, but we're going to talk about that a bit later on. And with our time zone, one interesting thing with the time zones, thank you, you're one step ahead of me, good job. There's a 3-hour difference from one side of Australia to the other with time zones. I'm in that dark browny Moroni area where it says +11, so I'm just a bit below that. But if you go to the other side in the yellow, it's 3 hours behind, which makes a huge difference in time. You can lose 3 hours just traveling across the country, which I think is very different to where you live. Isn't that right, Daniel? Very different where you live.
Well, actually, it's you saw Europe is just like 3 time zones, so it's not very well. Europe's is also not very big in size, so in country size, but at least in terms of population, we are the second most populated continent in the world. So this is quite interesting. So
yeah,
at least it was this way 10 years ago when I was still in school. I don't know if other countries took over right now. So I would have need to recheck this fact again. Okay, so that brings us already to the next page, which is Hard Facts Part 3. So, I thought it's quite funny because, yeah, Australia is bigger than Austria. Australia has more people living there, and Australia is just like, yeah, I mean, they got like 3 time zones, we've got just one. They win everywhere. But there's one thing where we
surely
win.
not. Australia's going to win at everything.
No, there is actually one mountain which is higher than the highest peak in Australia, and this is
I don't believe
it. Do you see this one? He is also in feet, 12,000 feet or something. Ooh. And almost 3,800 meters in height. So this is like a great elevation point. So you can't top that in Australia. At least something which is higher.
That's the biggest by a long way. And I'm looking at the name. Großglockner. Gross means big. Is that right?
Gross is big, yes. Not cross, not the English cross. So okay. It's here. Yeah. This is the correct spelling of this one. This is Großglockner because the O is spelled longer. This is the reason why you have like this sharp S, they call it, and yeah, basically it is from the beta sign.
Does Glockner mean anything, or is that just the name?
Yeah, there was. I also saw that in the Wikipedia article that there was. It was named after. Oh, here's even that explanation for groß, which means big. And Glocke means bell. This is like so, but Glockner, I think that it goes back to a name from someone who called that mountain this way. Okay. Yeah, and here's the location. So this is like, yeah, here it's telling Carinthia and East Tyrol. So it depends where you are from which side. And yeah, here this is Tyrol, this area. South Tyrol would be here in Italy, which is not part of Austria. But they do speak German, so be careful. They will understand you if you do tourism there. Yeah. Okay, there's also one thing because I think I'm already spoiling the next question. I will stop right here and just say about the other thing, which is quite interesting, is like the currency. We got the euro here as well as part of the European countries. Like this is quite convenient from my point of view. ever since we got the euro, if you travel Europe, it's really cool. If you never travel Europe, then it is quite meaningless to have the euro, to be honest. But I think this one is got to be a really strong currency over the years, and is really convenient because we had so many different currencies, and as you see, we have like also so many small-sized countries, which makes it very easy to cross border in no time. But yeah, more is spoiling the first question. So okay.
That's okay. So with Australia's highest mountain, it's nothing compared to Grossglockner. It's when you see the pictures, it doesn't even look like a mountain when you compare it to Grossglockner. This looks like just a little tiny hill. So it's Mount Kosciuszko. And one little known fact taught to me by my good friend Callum. So I must say good evening to Callum if you're listening, but he probably isn't. But good evening to Callum. Kosciuszko is actually a Polish surname. So from a person from Poland, it's their surname. And it's not pronounced Kosciuszko. So pretty much everybody in Australia says this wrong. They say it the way it should be said in Australia, but in Poland, it's pronounced Kosciuszka. So it should be really pronounced Mount Kosciuszka. But nobody in Australia knows that, so they all say it incorrectly. Silly Australia.
Yeah. So yeah, Mount Kosciuszko. So this is I had ex girlfriend from Poland, so I learned Polish. So it's Kosciuszko. But I'm also not quite correct. I hope this would be like sound or something, but here's just like you said it, and you're very close to it, at least to what the Wikipedia article says. Okay, the location is also quite interesting, I think. So
the Snowy Mountains in New South Wales. I've haven't been there myself yet, but I'll get there one day. But it's just on the New South Wales Victorian border. So you can see that the lighter area is Victoria, which is the state I'm in at the moment. Yep, yeah. So it looks like it's right on the border.
Okay, so that was at least one fact which Austria wins in comparison with Australia.
Australia's going to win the next point. And the next point we have down there is Ayers Rock is not the highest mountain. But I think that why some people think that is Ayers Rock holds another record. It's something called a monolith. Mono meaning one, and lith meaning rock. So it's the largest single rock in the world. It's just one big rock sitting in the desert. It's called a monolith. So Ayers Rock has the record for that. I'm pretty sure.
Okay. So yeah. This is not covered here as a link, but I think there was on the previous one where we had still the link on it.
It's okay.
There was somewhere the beautiful mountain. Oh, here is a quite good map from Australia.
Oh, yes. Well, now I can see in the audience counter we've had 2 people join us recently. Welcome to our live stream. We are discussing Austria and Australia. Feel free to leave a comment if you have any questions, and Daniel and myself will answer them as soon as we possibly can.
Okay, here is the picture of Ayers Rock. Just took like half hour scrolling, but we are here. So this is like what you see. You say this is the biggest monolith in the world. So
that's my understanding. Maybe it's just the biggest in Australia, but it has the monolith record in some way or another.
Oh, okay, that's quite interesting. Okay, there was like one thing I saw when I was checking the Wikipedia article. This word was quite interesting because there was something that like Australia is the oldest, flattest, and driest inhabited continent. So it's the oldest continent. This is like what really caught me by surprise. Is like quite interesting fact. I didn't know that.
Oh, how about that? I didn't know that one either. That's a new one for me. I do love learning new things.
Okay, we are pretty much done here, or is there something you still would like to add into one of the facts we just said?
I think I'm okay to move on to the next one.
Okay. Oops. What happened? Okay, you can read out the question because I'm going to answer the question.
Wait, just before I do, where did I put it? Wo ist meine Kartoffel? Oh, here it is. Okay, right. Now,
wow, nice. He speaks German, yeah.
I found it. Let's move on.
I could understand it. Where's my potato?
Austria is bordered by 8 countries, which is very different to Australia. Australia doesn't border any. How easy is it to go to other countries and visit them? And can you do it regularly?
So basically, yes, it's very easy to travel, especially for countries within European Union. Also, Switzerland is no problem. They just check your passport when you cross the border, but there's no further like you have to do a visa or something. There's no such rules. So it's just like very convenient with the passport. You can go everywhere. The only thing what you really need to keep in mind is like in Austria, this was like one issue what I had once I went to Czech Republic, because I'm living in this part of Austria, which is, okay, maybe I'll show you. No, this is not Austria. This is also, okay, let's just close that. It's too many, also not Austria here. I think so. I think it's better to explain with the map. Up here, this is, let's make it a little bit. Okay, this is Czech Republic up here, and I'm living, okay, somewhere in this area. It's not very precise right now. And this is just like 50 kilometers to the border. So just to have a measure to it. So in half an hour, you're in Czech Republic. And a couple of years ago, I forgot that I still need to have like a valid ID. And for us in Austria, because once you get registered with your driving license, this is as a valid ID for everywhere you go. That is like valid. So we don't have an ID card. We have like passport or driving license. And in most cases, we just use our driving license. And that got me into troubles because I just didn't have the passport with me. And they were checking they said like, yes, you got the driving license, but where is your ID? and I had this misconception from my country that this works as ID as well. So I got fined for this one. So this was the area so traveling is very easy. Just don't forget to have like proper ID. There's like this in credit card form, or also which is also suitable for traveling all European countries. So this ID is valid everywhere. It's quite quick. Or you just have a proper passport, and just make sure to have that you take that along once you go cross border. Because in terms of checking, especially when you are trafficking, and because the distances are really not that much, so it's very likely that you will drive. I love driving motorbiking, like you see on my YouTube channel as well. So and it's very easy to cross the border in no time, because especially if you're just touring around, it's very easy to go like to Italy, to Germany, to France. Or also like to Czech Republic, to Slovakia. One thing is like in Czech Republic, they still don't have the euro, but this is quite nice from them. They accept when you pay with euro, so it's just a little bit bad. How you say when you do the currency exchange, so you get a little bit less value. But I understand that because they accept that they don't have to, because they still have their own currency. And but like Slovakia has the euro already a couple of years already. I don't know about the other countries too well. I just know here this one has, this one has, this one has, and this one has. So this makes it very convenient to pay with euro. I think Ireland has euro too, but I'm not sure. I haven't checked. So and also up there, I think Finland has as well euro. Just to talk a little bit about the currency. So this is quite convenient. In those countries, you don't need to exchange anything. You don't lose money because it's the same value there. This is like a really cool advantage. And traveling is really cool. It's very nice. And it's Germany, Austria is even possible during COVID times, but there's a second wave, or they call it second wave now. So because of COVID, everything is restricted. So most of the people who live in Austria stay in Austria. Also counts for myself. I really love traveling. I really like to go traveling. And right now it's not so easy to travel because of the high risk of getting infected. Then you have to go back, and there's quarantine for several countries, especially the farther they are away from our country. I think the neighboring countries are still fine, but what I know is like Hungary had quite strict regulations. I'm not sure about Slovakia, and so it's even it would be possible maybe from Austrian side. There's like, every country has their own government, and so they have their own rules how they handle even corona. So it's very, very different within Europe. There's not a general guideline everyone follows. It's just like every country makes their rules and regulations suiting to their economy, because they also have different culture, because also not just of the language, but it's just like lots of culture, lots of different languages. This already makes different behaviors, and also the regions, which is like when you live here in the south, you don't experience harsh winters like you would experience like up here when it's coming closer to Siberia in this corner from the world. So it's just like, So basically this is like a very long answer to the questions. Yes, it used to be very easy. Right now it's not easy. This is the short answer. Okay.
That's very good. Just before the next question, we've had two people who commented recently. We have a question from Chuck Peavy and a question from my dad Graham. So we promise to get to your questions in the Q&A session towards the end of our live stream. So keep those questions coming, and we'll get to them very soon.
Okay, so the next question, that was for myself. I was overhearing a conversation about a guy who was from Australia, and he said, like, you don't have to check the snakes. Every snake is poisonous there. And then he was also talking from a spider, which is like massive like this. And I felt like, it's really true. And so this is the reason for these weird questions for Jason right now. So are there really so many dangerous poisonous snakes in Australia? And is it true that there is a spider in the size of a dog? So this is like my question for you.
Okay, a very good question. To answer this one, I'm going to put on my cowboy hat. It just seems appropriate. Okay, as a general rule in Australia, you should avoid any snake that you see. Usually they're pretty... They're not very aggressive, so if you leave them alone, they leave you alone. But you don't want to get too close to them. If you see a snake, it's probably poisonous, so you should stay back. I can't think of many really that aren't venomous, and I'm sure somebody playing at home can look one up and find one. But usually around here, the common one is called a brown snake or a tiger snake. Both of those are pretty poisonous. If you get up into the tropical areas, there are some really poisonous snakes. So I think Australia has 9 of the top 10 poisonous snakes in the world. I'm lucky that they aren't in the area I live in. I'm in the south of Australia. I'm in the southern section of Australia called Victoria, which is a bit too cold for the really poisonous snakes. So I'm lucky from that perspective. But yes, if you see a snake, leave it alone. It can probably kill you. And with the spiders, I don't know of one the size of a dog, but based on what the spiders here can do anyway, I wouldn't want one to get that big because they're dangerous enough as they are. We have one spider called the redback, which is a variation of the black widow species. I think it's a branch of that family. And there have been recorded deaths with the black widow bite. Recently, there's they have an anti-venom now, so it's less common now, but there are recorded deaths for the black widow. Around Sydney, there's the funnel web spider, which that's like an ambush one. So it can lay in wait in places where you can't see it, and then just comes out and grabs its prey. So you wouldn't want one of those to think that your hand was its prey. And the trapdoor spider as well. It makes a perfectly invisible trapdoor cover for the opening of its little tunnel. So it looks like grass or moss or whatever it is. But then just out of pops, the hatch opens up, it grabs its prey, and then it goes back in again. So you wouldn't want to mess with any of those. They're very, very poisonous as well. With large spiders, our biggest would be the huntsman around here, which is literally the size of an adult hand. So yeah, spider that big running around. We're lucky that one isn't too poisonous, but if it's right next to your face on the wall, it definitely gives you a jump. You wouldn't want to be too close to one of those because it's so big and furry, and or so many legs. It scares you. But that's the worst part of the huntsman. But it gives you a really good scare. And on the topic of snakes, one last thing with snakes, they are everywhere. This is a photo from my community Facebook page. There was a snake in the water at one of the local parks, just going for a bit of a swim because that's what snakes like to do. The wildlife definitely keeps things interesting around Australia. On a slightly different topic, I lived for a long time in smaller country areas, and you really would have kangaroos hopping down the main street in the small country towns, or koalas just crossing the road because they wanted to get to another tree. So the wildlife makes a big feature in your daily life. And Chuck mentions the movie Eight-Legged Freaks. Yes, there are some spiders that make you think of that around here, definitely. Thank you, Chuck, for your comment, and I look forward to answering your previous comment as well.
Well, actually, there's one remaining question suiting to this. Do you feel safe living in Australia knowing that everything you have there is poisonous? I mean, compared to Austria, there's like every snake you see there, there is like 2 snakes which are poisonous. The rest aren't, and they are not really big. And when they bite you, it's like 3 or 4 bees at the same time where just stinging you, and that's it. So you won't be dying from those snakes. There's one which is because of the global warming that came up from I think it's from Italy or from Croatia. There's one which is a little bit more poisonous, so young kids have to be careful on this one, but still it won't kill an adult here. So I think my country is a lot safer in terms of having and we also don't have biggest spiders maybe like this or this. I don't know, but it's not very big compared to Australia. Based on ranking of deadliest snakes and biggest spiders, you win again.
Yes, that was Australia. And one thing I found interesting about Europe, I spent 12 months living in Scotland. And in Scotland, they have spiders, but it's not like how I can say redback and funnel web and whitetail and trapdoor spiders. It was just people say, "Oh, there's a spider," and there's a spider. So that they didn't really have any more detailed names for them than just spider because they weren't poisonous. It wasn't going to hurt you. So it was just a spider. You didn't need to know any more details than just spider. So I suppose I feel safe in Australia because I'm used to it, but it was definitely very different in other countries.
Okay,
question number 2 for Daniel. And this one I got from a Google search. It said skiing is very popular in Austria. So I'm wondering, is that true? Do you ski very often?
Okay. The first part of the question is definite yes. So it is I mean, ever since I was a kid, Austria was very famous or got very famous with skiing. So many people. So this is the only type of sport. We had like really famous people who are really at the top and really fighting global stage, really being at the same time on the best. So there's like in all types of disciplines in terms of winter sports, Austria has a lot more pride than it comes to. Well, I'm not sure if I should say that, but yeah, when it comes to football, so I mean soccer for US, but football for all the other in the rest of the world. And so football is it's mainstream because it's like somehow also European, I would say. So it's like really big community. They got better over the years, but yeah, I think that the only thing what we really take pride in is winter sports, and especially skiing was for several years very successful. But also the other countries are not sleeping, so they also want to be on top. And so this is pretty much it what I can say right now.
That's
and
good.
do you ski very often? Yes, when still I was young, it was cheap enough to go skiing very often, but I think the prices for adults are a little bit too pricey for my style. Yes, the best thing is when you go skiing, I would recommend to go skiing for like a week, because there's like special discounted promotion for that. And you go like best places, like you go into a hotel, you stay in the hotel because you can stay in the hotel, and you can ski like every day. This is, I think, still then you can do that like 1 or 2 weeks during the winter time. This is what many other people are doing, but I myself don't ski very much anymore. But I used to ski very often when I was younger still, because I also had like, as a student or as a kid, you get better prices. So you get the discounted day tickets. So in this sense, I was skiing. Okay. There's nothing to say from my side. Do you want to know more about that, or just let's jump into the next question for you?
No, I think you've answered that perfectly. Thank you for your answer, Daniel.
Okay. In what area was the wildfire, and how did it affect the people in Australia? This is something what I got from the news, because this, like, I heard this, like, it was burning for several months. I don't know if this is true, but yeah, the people here globally, because of Corona, no one was really talking about it. So there was not a big topic up here, but I would like to know what you can share about this from your perspective.
Oh, yes. Just as a general opening, it's said that somewhere in Australia there is always a bushfire, because in the southern states of Australia, from November up to February, it gets pretty hot. Our hottest days are 42, 43 degrees Celsius. So we normally hit 40 a couple of times a year in the summer. So it gets very hot in the southern parts of Australia around then. So everything's really dry. So over those months, there's bound to be a bushfire somewhere around there. So every year there's one somewhere. But then in the other parts of the year, when you get to the other section of Australia, up in the centre and up towards the north, the weather conditions for bushfires are perfect for them in other parts of the year, just because Australia is such a big country. So it is said that there's a bushfire always somewhere in Australia. But the wildfire at the start of the year that you mentioned, that was a particularly bad one. It's the worst one I've known about for at least 12 years. So yeah, worst for a long time. With that one, it got quite close to Melbourne, where I'm living. It was bad enough that the bushland that was on fire was that the smoke was overshadowing the whole city of Melbourne, to the extent that people were advised not to leave their homes. Not for risk of being in the fire, but just the smoke was being blown across the whole city from where the fire was. So it was very bad air quality. People who had asthma would have a lot of trouble breathing, and there were many reports of people with asthma getting quite unwell just because the air was that bad. So I was very fortunate that was as bad as it got for me, but other areas were much worse. I looked up a few statistics when I knew you were going to ask this question. So in the fire at the start of this year, we lost 180,000 square kilometers of land, which I think is 2.5 times the size of Austria. So it's a huge amount of space just burnt, just gone. Our rough estimation put it at 3 billion separate wildlife animals caught up in the fire. I think 35 people died. Some of them would have been firefighters helping to defend the whole country. And there was some very interesting and uplifting stories from the firefighters during those times. There was an interesting political aspect where the Prime Minister of Australia was on holiday when the bushfire started. And instead of coming back to the country to show his support, he finished his holiday first. So that there was a huge uproar in Australia about that, because I thought, no, the Prime Minister should be here to take command from the country. And there's a very famous photo in Australia, at least, where the Prime Minister goes to shake hands with a firefighter, and the firefighter just doesn't return the handshake. He just keeps his hands crossed. He says, "No, I'm not shaking your hand because you didn't help." So there was a huge controversy around those sort of things as well. How did it affect people in Australia? I think I've touched on that pretty well, but yeah, it's definitely the biggest in over a decade. It was a huge fire, very devastating, and the worst thing for the people in the worst affected areas was the COVID-19 problems arose when they hadn't recovered from the bushfires yet. So there were people who still needed supplies to be transported to their towns, fresh water, food, just basics to survive. And then the lockdown problems just made that a whole lot more difficult for them. So the bushfires and then the COVID-19 lockdown, one after the other, made that really difficult in some parts of Australia, which makes those of us who weren't in those areas feel very fortunate indeed.
Okay. Wow, that was really quite a lot of stuff. But burning the size 2.5 times of Austria, that's big. That's really massive. This is something what people here just didn't really get. I mean, this is like 2.5 size the size of Austria. Well, that's Germany. That would be like 1 time Germany.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And it's crazy when you put it that way. And it was within that, I think it was 3,000 homes that were lost. So it could have been a whole lot worse with the number of homes, but still very devastating for the people in those areas.
But people didn't die, or were there some victims based on that? 35
deaths from what I researched.
Oh, yeah, well, but for this size, it's quite low number at least. So so most of them got lucky in time, I suppose. Okay.
Okay, I have a question for Daniel, and my question is, I love watching movies, and there are several films I know of that were filmed in Austria. One of them was The Sound of Music. It's a big one. The Italian Job, the original version is the best Italian Job movie. It's always going to be the best. At the end of The Italian Job, the escape bus gets stuck on a very steep bend and nearly falls off the cliff. That's in Austria, just as they're leaving Italy. And in Indiana Jones, the whole adventure in The Last Crusade starts in a library in Vienna. So I'm just wondering, is there anything regarding Austria that you can tell me about those movies? Because I enjoyed those movies from Austria very much.
Okay, first of all, I didn't know that Italian Job and Indiana Jones had parts from Austria in it. So I didn't know that they were filmed in Austria. But
maybe I watched too many movies.
The Italian Job I really liked, and Indiana Jones, I also don't know which one of the Indiana Jones series was the part with Austria. Okay, Sound of Music. This is a big topic. This is a really big topic because, first of all, most of the people in Austria don't know even about that movie Sound of Music. And this is like one fact, this is also a little bit for cultural understanding, is like, no, we don't sing on mountains and we don't wear lederhosen, and I'm not even able to yodel. I saw like in the Jimmy Fallon show in the US, they were yodeling there even better than me. So in this sense, I'm not a good, authentic Austrian person suiting to the stereotypes. But I think globally, because of, also the World Wide Web, which we have since like more than 30 years in use right now. This is like, we got a lot more connected, and I think every country was evolving a lot. So those stereotypes you have so typically about Austria, like people wearing lederhosen or something. Yeah, there are a few days in the year where like 40 to 50% are still cherishing this, but it also depends in which part of the Austria, because it could be in one area, which is like my area. I think even less than, I think it's like 10 to 20% maybe even. So it's like very, very different in the area where you live, and also like how you grew up and what ties you have to the tradition. And so if you're not very traditional, I don't even wear, I don't even have a lederhosen, just for this. And this is like the interesting thing, because this is the only film which is shown like on global stage, and we only learned about this movie in English education, and we learned that the stereotypes or all the frames you have from Austria. Yes, the mountains are true, but we were watching the entire movie, and they did some photoshopping back there. So because but I think there was one scene in Salzburg, and there are no mountains like this, like you see there in the back. So they were doing some. So it's also not, and also there's like geographically, because I think they had to flee somewhere. And that's totally not true how they fled. So geographically, this is like bollocks in this Sound of Music movie. And yeah, so I was quite surprised that this one is what the people are thinking about Austria, because no, we don't have this militaristic style of schooling our children with like never has someone a whistle to call the people. So and this is like, I have a whistle for dog, perhaps you could use that, but we don't do that for people. Come on. It's just like, and also the fact that this movie is like 40 years ago. I mean, ever since, or more than 40 years, perhaps even, ever since this movie was done, perhaps it was reflecting a little bit more of the tradition once it got released. I don't know the year it was released.
I was looking up 1965, so 55 years ago now.
Yeah, this is like, come on, this is like more than half a century of what Austria used to be and what Austria is right now. So I think it's really, really bad if you think you saw Sound of Music and now you know Austria. This is like, from my point of view, this is
that's a good point.
Not the best idea.
Yeah, I suppose there are several there are several Australian movies with the same thing. A popular movie out of Australia is Crocodile Dundee, but not much of Australia is like what they show there. So
like with this big knife.
Yes. All I've got is some scissors. Yeah. I'm very interested that The Sound of Music wasn't known by people in Austria until you study it at school. I think that's very interesting for me, just because I've known about it for a long time. So it's I find that very interesting.
Also, like for the older generation, so even like 10, 15, 20 years older, and I would say like up to 90% even don't know about Sound of Music, which is like the major impression what the global stage has from Austria, that everyone is singing or whatever. Yes, Viennese Philharmonica is famous on global stage, but it doesn't get the appreciation from the own culture here in Austria. so yes, I see many Chinese people coming just to Vienna just to learn classical music, and it is like a really, so they are like, in terms of music, this is like also where they are like really on, especially classical music, to be precise, where they are still like really, they are the best of the best, but that's not so very well known even within Austria. So it also depends of the people. If you do music, then you know, of course, but if you're not a musician yourself, or you're like really into the history of music in Austria, then I think most of the people don't even know about this part. So yeah, I think this movie is like good to have, because it still shows some beautiful areas from Austria. So, and these are true. So at least the locations, these are quite nice. What you can see. So in terms of making promotion for tourism, it's not a bad movie, but don't expect that the people here even know about that movie. So I think maybe the younger generation knows, because this is like this big stereotype which was building for now almost 60 years, 55 years now. So of course there's like several decades of education everywhere else, but not here. So I think we are catching up also on this, because yeah, everything goes a little bit more global. And yeah, but it's a very good point, because this really jumps into the topic about our culture, I think, very much, because this is like one of the stereotypes you shouldn't take as fact for most of the cases, because this is a movie in the end, so this is more fictional than it's reality. But yeah, okay, I think this is pretty much what I can say about this.
That's right. And there's a comment from Chuck who said, everybody knows Australia is much more like Mad Max. So very good point, Chuck. That's exactly how Australia is. So thank you for that. But I suppose it's better to be like Mad Max than Wolf Creek. That would be bad.
Okay, I jumped into the next question, if this is okay, because I still don't see you. I'm just in this PowerPoint presentation. Okay.
Read it to me.
Is Australia still a Commonwealth country, and what are the ties to the UK? So
yes, a very good question. Thank you, Daniel. Australia is still part of the Commonwealth, and every 20 years or so, there seems to be a referendum where they vote, does Australia want us to be in the Commonwealth? And everybody goes to vote to say yes or no. And most people seem to have the opinion that it's not broken, so don't fix it. So each time so far we've remained in the Commonwealth. But to be honest, it doesn't really affect our day-to-day life that much. Let me tell you that the two main things that affect me, it might be different for other people, but the first one is I get to watch Australia in the Commonwealth Games. So when every 4 years when they have the Commonwealth Games, I get to cheer on Australian athletes, and we have a much better chance of winning a gold medal because America isn't in there. So yes, we get to compete in the Commonwealth Games. And the other part, I'm just getting my wallet. The other part is the Queen's face is on most of our money. So this is a $5 note, and there's the Queen. Just for those in Austria, $5 would buy me a cup of coffee, just for the currency conversion. So $5. Also, on all of the coins, the Queen's head is on the back of all of the coins. Let me try and get this nice and close. Just going to fiddle with my light a little bit. There we go. So the Queen's head appears on the back of all of the coins. This is a $1 coin, and I could buy a lollipop with my $1 coin. So there we go. They are the two really main differences or main ways that this is in our everyday life. Yeah, so it's the what's the phrasing? The ties are very few these days, but we are still within the Commonwealth, and we get those couple of perks. I'm sure there are some hardcore Australians at home listening who say, "Oh, but you forgot about this thing." But for me, that those two things are the main ones. And
Okay.
Chuck says LOL, and a comment from Graham as well. I'll get to Graham's comment in the question section.
Okay, so let's jump right to our last slide, which you have been waiting for. I just will have this for a brief time now, because I think we don't have it to have in this size. I think it's just like us two, and we start to answer the questions now. But it's just like for the people to know we are in the Q&A session now officially. Okay, let's remove this and let's go on. So, okay, first question.
Okay, so Chuck has a comment about the highest mountain. He says there's a conversation that Carten's Pyramid is actually the tallest mountain in Australia, even though it's not in Australia. And I must say that's one that I don't know about. I might do a very quick Google search right now, because I don't know about that one. So thank you, Chuck, for telling me. I love learning new things. So I'm just doing a quick Google search. I would ask Siri, but Siri is useless. Carsten's Pyramid. What can we find out? The highest summit of Mount Jayawi. How do you say that? Jayawi.
It sounds like Star Wars, Klingonian or whatever.
So Carsten's Pyramid is the highest summit of Mount Jayawi. And that's in Indonesia. Okay, that's a good point. So Indonesia is one of our neighbouring countries. So it could be that that's close by to Australia. And there's a term they use for the countries around Australia called Australasia. So that can include the countries around us. So you could definitely say Carsten's Pyramid would be one of the tallest within Australasia. I think that would be a fair thing to say. And cool. So yes, let me know, Chuck, if I didn't answer that properly, and if you have anything else to add, I would love to see.
Yes, he did. I can show you this one.
Oh, nice. Oh, that's a cool effect. I didn't know you could do that.
Yeah, so I'm now back in the screen, which I supposed to be all the time, but I'm not here. Okay, I'm going right from the top to the next one, which was from Graham Hall. So
that is my dad. My dad. So thank you, Dad, for commenting. And hi, Mum. Hi, Dad. I believe they're watching back in Warrnambool.
Okay, what temperatures do we experience in Austria? So, okay, when we have extreme temperatures, there's like a global warming, I think is also a thing here. We have very irregular, because we used to have like this, in the good old days, we used to have the 4 seasons. We have spring, summer, fall, and winter. But yes, is this the Huntsman? So,
yes.
The size of Huntsman. So you don't need Halloween decoration. Just put a real Huntsman there.
This is a small Huntsman, about the size of a hand for a Huntsman. So this could be a baby.
Okay. Well, actually, the temperatures is very different. So during springtime, they are usually from freezing point to like 20, 30 degrees. But because of global warming, everything get mixed up. We used to have like really a lot of snow in our area here, but it's getting less and less over the years now. And also there's sometimes even winter days where it feels like spring. And there's like summer days where it feels like at least fall or something. So from the temperature is like really, really cold. And sometimes here now we had quite a nice fall right now. So there's like also there we had a couple of days where it felt as warm as it would be still summer. So, and those is like, I talk in Celsius degrees, so it's not Fahrenheit what I'm talking. So just to be clear on this one. So temperature, I would say that, I think, just to give an idea, I will jump from the Q&A. Oh, I forgot. I have just this screen now. Let's make it. Okay. Basically, I would say in winter it can get to minus 10, 20 degrees. Most of the time it's around minus 10 degrees in our area, at least. In the mountain area, it's always harsher, so you can say minus 5 to minus 10 in the compared to our area here. But still, it's quite cold during winter, and in summertime it can get up to 40 degrees. So, but most of the time it's around 30 to 35 degrees. So this just should give you some idea.
Yes, it sounds similar to here. Similar maximums.
Okay, next one.
This you might not have seen this, Daniel, but while you were talking, I keep changing hats.
Okay, so I didn't see that. Yeah, I was in the PowerPoint.
So I've been stacking my hats, and I was using the cat's head for a while. I also found a nice hair clip, so I put that in at one point. And the final thing I was wearing during this session was this nice little scarf as a shawl. So yeah, that is the my hat for today.
Did you come from the dunes or somewhere?
Oh, yes. Protects me from the sun. No,
okay, next question. Sorry, I interrupted.
Oh yes.
There's also a question for you.
That one is Eight-Legged Freaks is a movie about giant spiders, and it's been a long time since I've seen it, but I'm pretty sure it's set in Australia. So it's just a great exaggeration and a comedy of what spiders in Australia are like. I'm probably going to get this completely wrong now, but I think there's some failed experiments, your typical story where the spiders just get massive, so they become the size of cars, and it's not really scary though. It's done in a comedic way, so it's worth a look for anybody who likes those sort of movies.
Okay, then let's go to the next question, which is also a question for you, or a statement for you.
Oh yes, this one we got to during the before, but yeah, Australia's like Mad Max. That's exactly what Australia is like. And, Mel Gibson is the perfect stereotypical Australian. Definitely, yes.
Okay. Mel Gibson is from Australia. I didn't know. I thought he is like, he was fighting for freedom,
Yeah.
It's in a different world, a different area of the world. So freedom of the harsh slavery from the UK. Ancient UK. Nowadays, UK is pretty cool, except for the Brexit from my point of view. But
yes.
Yeah. And this was quite interesting because once they voted for Brexit, because like most of Scottish people voted for staying in the European Union. So it's like
people
was very, very close. It's like every second person in Great Britain already not wanted to leave the European Union. So that was a very, very close election, and that's quite unfortunate. And right after that happened, I heard even that Scottish people were thinking of going independent from Great Britain. That they can still stay within European Union, and that was quite interesting thing back there once they voted. But yeah, this is all forgotten, and now it happened as it happened, and I think. Yeah, it's unfortunate because I think European Union did not, well, it's not the best. And there's a lot of things. I will also be talking in my channel about a lot of stuff, what I don't like about the European Union. But in general, there's a lot of stuff which is done really great. And in terms of infighting between all those countries, we had long history, a lot of long wars for centuries. And ever since we had European Union, it's the first time in history that everyone is trading with each other. It has a lot of advantages from the economical side, and also in terms of safety, I think it increased because you don't have to fear that you're going to pick a fight with your neighbor again or something, because like we are one part of one big group. But this is like the problem with the European Union, because it's still everyone is their own nationality. They still have their pride, and they don't want to be like regulated down from the European Union, which not everyone is always agreeing. And this is like one of the issues, because the bigger the structure, the less satisfying you can be for the small parts, because we are used to being like a small country. And so everything is regulated within this small frame. And now you got a big frame, which is regulating down everything. And this is like where the people get the thing. But actually, I'm off topic because it was your question.
No problem. This is from my dad. Hi, Dad. Hi, Mum. So they looked up some statistics on Australian spiders. The huntsman that I mentioned, which is the size of a hand, they said 5 inches roughly, which would be 12.5 centimeters. So yeah, this big. So yeah, they're pretty big, those things. But the tarantula, I'm lucky that we don't have the tarantulas in my part of Australia. They're further north. So 8 inches for a tarantula, which would be 20 centimeters. So that's a big spider. That is a big spider. That's more than my hand.
Size. This is puppy size. Yeah.
That's about as big as my hand can stretch. 20 centimeters. That is a big spider. I'm lucky that we don't have those where I live. So thanks, Mum. Thanks, Dad.
Okay.
So Daniel, do you know about the Vienna Boys Choir?
Yeah, there is also cultural. Everyone knows them. So they are really famous for singing. But this is like pre-puberty, or if you're a nuke, you're still or how you say Oinuk. I don't know how to pronounce, but this is like what is the joke? So if you get castrated, then you can go to Vienna Boys show.
That'd be a eunuch.
Yeah. Okay. So exactly like this. I can't pronounce it properly, so I will just leave it like that.
So the high-pitched falsetto voices, is that what they do?
So yeah, they sing. They really do sing amazing. So they have like really those high voices, sometimes even higher than any woman can sing properly. So this is like quite interesting, because they have also this very beautiful voice. But this is, yeah, it's boys' chore for a reason, because it's pre-puberty. So once the testosterone hits in the teenage years, then all this brilliance disappears in their very, very high pitches. So they can sing bass or whatever, or tenor maybe. But yeah, this is the yeah, this happens. Okay, I will jump to the next comment.
Okay.
Okay, we had that before. That was just the answer from before. Here's another one.
So there are 8 severe sites. That's a very impressive hobby to partake in. Chuck must be a very, very fit person if he can climb up those things. So that's very impressive. At the moment, I struggle getting up the staircase, so I'm very out of shape after being locked down for 6 months.
Yeah, that's really also quite bad on my form. It went really downhill with quarantine and everything. So I gained weight. This is the only thing I gained from quarantine. So, yeah. Okay.
And this is about the 8-Legged Freaks movie. It's set in the US, but they brought in Australian spiders. Oh, what were they thinking? How foolish could they be? That reminds me of one tiny little anecdote about Australia. There was a a tiny little insect called the cane fly, which was causing problems with the Australian crops. It was eating the crops and getting into things it shouldn't be getting into. So some bright person thought, cane fly? Well, where I come from, we have something called a cane toad. So let me bring in my cane toad. It will eat the cane fly, and then Australia will be fine. No more cane flies. But it was a really big mix-up because the cane toad does not eat cane flies. What they ended up doing was they introduced this cane toad into an environment where it had no natural predators. It took over the entire thing, and it's really difficult to kill. So it's eating all the supplies that the natural animals in that area like to have, and it's caused an even bigger problem than the cane fly did. So that's transporting species across countries is never a good idea.
Yeah. There was like many things, but yeah, actually there was also like one case with the rabbit, I think, in Australia. Historically, yeah. Okay, then up to the next one. Okay, I think this is still. So this was the first question about the movie, the Vienna Boys Tour, and this is the second one now. Yes, I mean, this is quite natural because they have their career within the chore, so their entire life, their very young life, they don't have the experience. I mean, this is quite some downfall, I can imagine. So in this terms of sense, I can do understand the movie, but I haven't seen this movie as well. Okay, and I think we are about to finish those questions. I think this is the last question, which is this one now. And yeah.
Oh, that is a real shame because Californian redwoods are some of the biggest trees in the world. So hopefully they get that under control before they get to the Californian redwoods. That would be a shame if it got to those. So thank you to everybody who wrote in some questions. It was very good to discuss some questions about Australia and Austria with our online audience.
That's pretty cool. So I also enjoyed the Q&A session part the most. Oh, there is still another one. This is just adding to this current one. Is this one? The redwood should be fine.
I'm very happy to hear about that.
Okay, then let's wrap it up here. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. That was our first live experience. I think that went quite well. And I hope we have another one in the future, and then you can tune in again. Yeah, then, so just here are some comments as well.
Thanks, Dad.
I also wish good night in Australia, and here it's like 3:20 over here, so that's pretty much it. So thanks for tuning in. Do you have some final words for the audience?
I finish all of my videos by saying a quote from the movie Back to the Future. Remember, if you put your mind to it, you can accomplish anything.
Okay, great. Then let's have a nice day, everyone. And okay, now we finish. Goodbye, everyone. See you.
Bye.